Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Charlton Live, sponsored by PSF Steel Limited. My name is Louis Mendes. Hope you guys are all well on this beautifully sunny Sunday morning. On today's show, then we'll be looking back at yesterday's goalless draw up at Stockport County. A big game in the playoff race. Didn't quite live up to its big billing, but a very useful point, I think, for the Addicts on the road. Joining me to look back at that game, first up, top right, Daddy Cat. How you doing, Lewis?
I'm good, mate. Thank you. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. How's the sleepless nights going?
Yeah, they've not been too bad. I'd say I jinxed it a bit because she's been really good, and I've been telling everyone she's been really good. And then Friday she was not great at all, but last night back to being good again. So yeah, she's a little angel, but it's crazy, as you know. It's nuts, isn't it?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, if at any point she's struggling to get her head down, just stick on a replay of yesterday's game, and that should send her off sooner rather than later. And also, bottom of the screen is Mr. Tom Walling wearing a black away shirt today. He's gone off piece. How you doing, Tom?
Yeah, the yellow one's ready for the wash after yesterday. It was hot and sweaty in that away end, wasn't it? Without any cover. But yeah, I'm all right apart from that. Yeah.
Yeah, I was staring at those sunburnt bodies in that away end yesterday, thinking I'm so glad that we have a roof in the press box because I would have been sizzling during that. So yeah, morning to you two. On today's show, then, as I said, we'll look back at the game. No goals to hear, so we won't hear any highlights, but we will hear from the Addicts boss, Nathan Jones. We're going to hear from Conor at Coventry as well later on in the show, the Addicts midfield. We're going to look ahead to Tuesday's game as well. Big game at Crawley. I think if we can get 3 points in that game, then it turns what I think was a good point yesterday into a very good point if we can back it up. And because it was a 0-0, I think we might have 5 minutes to fill at some point. So I thought something I want to talk about. So there was some celebrity spotting going on yesterday in the away end and for myself on the way home. So I bumped into both Paul and Dave Evans, who are supporters we've had on the show before. They're not the celebrities, although Dave is turning into a bit of a celeb in his own right, the amount of times he's been on this show. But Dave was telling me that he saw Lee Ryan yesterday in the away end, who we all know is a Charlton fan, but I didn't know he actually went to that many games. So Lee Ryan from Blue was there. So that's number one celebrity spot. And then on the way home, I bumped into Paul Chuckle from the Chuckle Brothers walking down St Martin's Lane in town when I was going back to Charing Cross. So two big celebrities. I did ask ChatGPT last night which one is the biggest celebrity out of the two, and they landed on Paul Chuckle. That's obviously up for debate. So I want to know later on in the show, it has to be non-footballing celebs that you've seen on an away day. So everyone's going to say Jim Davidson because we've all seen him at games. But who else have you seen on an away day but isn't like obviously a former Charlton player or something? Like Cole Leaburn doesn't count. So yeah, let us know. Think about that. We'll have a discussion about that later on in the show. Morning to everyone who joins us in the chat as well. Sam Katz says morning. Solid point. I would have taken that at the start of the game. Odd that Nathan didn't bring on Godden and Gilbert. It sounds like they might have changed it. Still though, on the positive, still fifth, and our game Tuesday is ahead of us. So yeah, let us know your thoughts. Dudley's in there. Paul, Mickey, all hell let loose. George Gazza's in there. Is that a celebrity spot in the chat? Paul Bowen. Joseph, Andrew, Andreas, Stuart. Let us know your thoughts on yesterday's game. Email us studio@charltonlive.co.uk. You can tweet us at Charlton Live. You can add a live comment in the chat. I was going to say just before we hear the goals, but there's no goals, Lewis. So, I mean, first of all, just give us your summing up of yesterday's game, 0-0. We had a couple of chances first half. They had a couple of chances start the second half. Another clean sheet. Yeah, how did you see it?
I think there's plenty of positives to take. I think if we'd have gone into the week that we've just had with the games we've had, and we said that we'd get 7 points out of that, I think we'd have snapped people's arms off for that. Maybe the game as a spectacle wasn't the best, which is maybe why some are feeling slightly deflated this morning, given the Orient result was so up there, wasn't it? And then a great performance against Barnsley Tuesday. So going into Stockport, probably full of confidence, but they're up there for a reason. I think Dave Challoner sets his teams up very, very well. They've been in the playoffs or in the promotion push the last few seasons at different levels, so they've obviously got that positive momentum. I thought they were quite good on the ball. They were quite dangerous, very physical, and it was a test really for our defence. And I think another nod to them. They've been brilliant this season. It's another clean sheet, which if you look at where we were with those last season, you wouldn't have thought we'd be capable of that, given there's only a few slight tinkerings in that back line to how we finished last season. So there's lots of positives. I mean, we're 5th in the league. We've got that game in hand Tuesday at Crawley, which, as you say, that probably turns yesterday's point from being a good point, which I think we would all agree with, to a very, very good point in the playoff race. Slightly disappointed we maybe didn't get into the game as much in the second half as I'd liked us to. But all in all, I'm not that disappointed, because I just look at how far we've come since the turn of the year and where we are in the table now. The fact we've got something to play for makes it exciting again, gives us something to believe in again. And all in all, I think a point against a promotion rival is a very, very good result, especially away from home.
Yeah, did you think it was a fair result yesterday, Tom? Like I'd argue we had marginally the better of the first half, because I guess we had a couple of chances which they didn't really have. They had that penalty shout, couple of crosses and that. Second half, obviously they had 2 big chances at the start of it. Mannion making that save from Wootton, then he hit the crossbar a few minutes later. But I mean, we could have nicked it ourselves with that Gillespie moment right at the end. Did you think the point was the right result for both sides?
I guess so, because I don't think either team did enough to win it. I can't remember if it was the full XG or the on target XG at half time was 0.00 against 0.05. And if it was the on-target one, I think that has to be Kane Ramsey's shot from about 45 yards as the only shot on target. So yes, I guess if that's correct, then we edged it, but we edged it marginally in a game where neither team deserved to score. Latter part of the second half, they're the home side. They know that we're only 2 points behind with a game in hand, and they pushed us hard towards that back end and could have nicked it, as you say, but they didn't. And yes, maybe there was a little bit of fortune in there. But Mannion making a good save is his job. I thought we defended pretty resolutely, put our bodies on the line. It was a very physical game, I thought. I thought we largely nullified them in the majority of the time. As I say, they got through a couple of times, but they're the home side. That's what you'd expect. But we came away from there, all of us as fans, all the people I was with, sort of saying, if we have to go back there in the playoffs, we've got to do our job at home. And obviously in the reverse fixture, we absolutely dominated them, but drew the game. But it's going to be a tough place to go, I think, if that is the case. And we probably want to be the other way round in terms of getting the home leg second. But it was a very tough game yesterday. As I say, very physical, very more physical, I think, than we expected. And certainly, I don't know if we'll come onto it later, but bumped into a couple of the players after the game, and I think they were expecting Stockport to play it round a little bit more than they did. I think the wind affected that as well. That first half, we just kept going long and with the wind, and it kept going over our strikers. And then second half, we were still trying to go direct, and it was stopping on the halfway line. So conditions didn't really help. But I don't think either team deserved to win it. I think a draw is probably a better result for us than for them, because we've got that game in hand on Tuesday, albeit we obviously might not win that. We now look ahead to the next run of 5 fixtures where, on paper, we're playing slightly easier sides apart from Huddersfield. But obviously, it doesn't work like that. So, another point on the board, as Nath would say, keeps the unbeaten run going, and we move on to Crawley.
Paul says, morning all, a very solid display against a physical side, a decent point. I mean, that was one of the things that stood out yesterday, Lewis, was just how physical both teams had the ability to be yesterday. I mean, I use this word lightly. That absolute freak they had at the back, Hills, he was massive and he was quality. And Greg told me after the game, he's 21 years old. Imagine how he's going to be about 12 foot when he's fully grown. I mean, he's huge. So it was a physical encounter. It was a battle. I mean, Nathan Jones says there wasn't many patterns of play in that game. we wanted to be able to press them. They didn't play a game where we could press them. He thought they were going forward, effectively saying, I think they went a little bit long, a little bit. And there wasn't that. There was a moment in the second half where I saw Doherty pushing up to press someone. I thought, actually, I haven't seen that much today. But it's because of the way the game played out. There wasn't really an opportunity for either side to do probably what they're very best at.
No, I agree. It was really huff and puff, wasn't it? And as Tom says, like the conditions, the wind didn't massively help. It's hard to play football in a condition like that. I mean, obviously a lovely sunny day, but the wind plays a massive part. Just two really, really physical sides. And I think it just shows how far we've come again, because I don't think we had that physicality before. And I think that we've strengthened massively. We look much better defensively. I feel less on edge. There were some moments yesterday that was a little bit touchy in the second half. They had a couple of really good opportunities, but I just feel so much more confident in our back line than I have before. And even when we're up against it, I think the ability that we've taken on now, where we are able to defend our box and keep those clean sheets even when up against it, I think that's what makes yesterday's point even better, because I think if there was a side likely to win it the way it was second half, it probably would have been Stockport edging it in that second half. So to come away from it with the point, the clean sheet, it's a massive positive. Again, just another massive nod to the defence. Like Kane Ramsey, excellent. Lloyd Jones, excellent. Gillespie has come on leaps and bounds in the last couple of weeks, which I'm really, really happy. Or GOALLESS, as we should call him. Although they could have done with getting one yesterday, nearly at the end. But I think we've just solidified massively, and where we are on the table is one nod to our progression, but where we are defensively compared to last season, when you look back at all those late goals conceded, all those errors, all those mishaps compared to where we are now, that progress can't go unrecognised. So I think we're in a really good place. I think Stockport needed to win that more than we did. I think I saw Dean put that in the chat earlier, being that we've got that game in hand. I think they would have been more desperate to win that than we were. So to come out of it with the point, frustrate them, go into our game in hand Tuesday, as Tom says, there's no guarantee we win that game, but you'd like to think we've got a good chance of picking up 3 points at Crawley, given where they are and where we are. Put us in a great position going into next weekend's home game against Wigan, and hopefully back on home turf, a few more people in the ground. It gives that real positive momentum as we go into these final games now.
Yeah, I absolutely agree that the point is so much better for us. We've still got a game in hand on them. I think we said Thursday, Tom, that a point would be good. That's not the way we attack games, and I don't think that's the way we attacked the game yesterday. We didn't go out playing for a point. I think we had chances in the first half. We tried to mix it up a little bit in the second half, but we weren't fluent going forward. I think that's fair. We struggled to create chances. It would have been a lovely moment if that Gillespie header had gone in at the end. And actually, watching the highlights, I think it was a better chance than I realised from the press box. You would have had a better view in the in the away ends. That opened up a little bit for him. But I'm not going to sit here and say that Macaulay Gillespie's goal return hasn't been good enough or anything like that. So it could have been another smash and grab.
Yeah, it was a good ball in, and I think he was just too far in front of the goal to kind of direct it back across. I think had he been a yard sort of further back, and then maybe it would have been even closer. But yeah, we were kind of just by that corner of the goal, and it wasn't far away. But yeah, I don't know if I agree with you or not on going there for the draw. It doesn't. Me and Nath were talking about it in the ground. Nathan Jones doesn't ever, I don't think, set up to go and draw a game. But in that second half, I think he made the decision that if we did get out of there with a point, he'd be happy with it. Doesn't necessarily mean he set up for it. He wasn't just chucking loads of centre backs on or anything like that. We obviously saw Chuks come on, and we saw a little change in terms of how we wanted to play. So I don't think he was just camping us on the edge of our box, although naturally the way the game went, that sort of ended up happening. But I think it got to a stage in that second half where I think he knew conditions and the way the game was going and the physicality meant it was going to be very difficult to win. And so, as I said right at the start, let's make sure we don't lose it. I think maybe that started to creep in, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I saw a couple of comments in there saying, are we going to go to Wickham and Wrexham and do that? I don't know. They're different teams. They play a different style. And obviously, by the time we get to those games, we'll have a clearer idea of what that playoff picture and even the second place picture looks like. So, if we've suddenly dropped down to 7th and we need a win somewhere, then of course we'll go for it. But if we're sitting in 3rd and we're 6 points off 2nd and we know we've locked in the playoffs, then maybe you do just secure that place. So I think yesterday to come out of there with a point was huge. And it wasn't our best performance, I don't think, but I think Stockport made it difficult for us. And as I say, if we'd have lost that would have had a huge impact on momentum. As it is, I don't think it does. Again, it makes Tuesday huge, but I think all the games between now and the end of the season are anyway, because there's teams coming up behind us. There's obviously other teams in the playoff mix doing well. Orient obviously slipping away, but the likes of Reading, Bolton, I think me and Nath were talking again yesterday. Bolton's the team he's worried about in terms of coming up behind. And I think they've got a game in hand as well, haven't they? Same as us. So, yeah, look, it's going to be interesting every single week that we come onto this show now. It's going to be a slightly different perspective on everything than it was before, because I think because it's so tight around there, things are just going to change every day. And even yesterday, throughout the game, things are changing. And obviously throughout 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock when we're done, things are changing all the time. So it's exciting. As Lewis said right at the start of the show, it's exciting to be part of it. I'm enjoying it. And again, we've gone through another game where we haven't lost. It's another difficult away day. We were talking about our away record on Thursday. It's not brilliant, but to come out of there with a point, as I say, I just don't think you should sniff at it. And obviously, if we'd have nicked it with another Gillespie goal, that would have been the icing on the cake. But yeah, I'm not too happy. Not too unhappy that we picked up a point anyway.
Yeah, and Andrea said we still have a game on hand on game in hand on Huddersfield, and they're sitting in 7th, 2 points behind us. We have a game in hand on them. As Tom mentioned there, Bolton are in 6th. They've played the same amount as us, so they have a game. We both have a game in hand on Stockport. I mean, my sort of mini target at the moment, and I'm still dreaming that maybe something remarkable could happen and we could try and chase down that second place. But in reality, if playoffs are the thing we need to worry about, I want to get up into 4th or 3rd. I want to have that home tie second for 2 reasons, really. One of them is just logistical, because I think that means the home tie would be in midweek rather than having to go away in midweek. So that'd make it a bit easier for everyone. But also, yeah, the benefit you get from playing that second game at home. Yeah, I guess you could argue we didn't get a great deal of benefit against Doncaster last time out, but maybe the crowd saw them through. Maybe the pressure of the crowd on the Doncaster players for the penalty shootout helped us. Who knows? And I think that's definitely an achievable target. And then we've got that stretch target of trying to get the top 2 as well. As Dean says, the next 8 games, 6 of them are winnable. The other 2 are sort of games that we might draw. 16 clean sheets now, Lewis. Remarkable numbers. 5 last season in all competitions. That 16 is only in League One, so I think we've got about 19 in all competitions this year. Like it's just ridiculous. And you saw it yesterday. Defensively and goalkeeper were excellent.
Yeah, they really were. Again, like nod to all of the back line. I think they've been brilliant all season. I think there has to be credit to Conor Coventry as well. I think what he does in front of that back line is very good. I think his job went unnoticed for a bit, and he maybe kind of came under a bit of criticism from myself included. But now you start to see the dog work that he really does. That's definitely helped solidify that back line. But I mean, 2 of our outstanding performers this year, if you're looking at Player of the Year, both of those playing in the back line, don't they? And Kane Ramsey and Lloyd Jones, they've both been absolutely outstanding. And usually when you think about players of the year and achievement, you think of goals, you think of creativity and stuff. But I think our defensive performances have really come into the headlines because we've been so good. I mean, Kane Ramsey is one of the best, I hate to say it, one of the best players I've seen play for us for a long time. Don't want to put it out there too much because you don't want people sniffing around him, which I think is inevitable that they will be. But I think him coming in from Harrogate last year, you sort of think, oh, okay, like maybe Nathan's worked with him at Southampton. I don't know. And how much he's grown here, settled here, and become the first name on the team sheet. I mean, he's an outstanding footballer and a really nice bloke. His interview after Orient was like the happiest interview I've ever heard. It was amazing. And it's really good that we're starting to do this, because I think it was so bad last year. And I've already said this, but the defensive performances last year were so poor. And even prior to that, I mean, we've spoken about where some of our defenders from last season have ended up this year. And I think that's pretty evident that the improvement we've made is, I don't think that's by chance. I think a lot of hard work's gone into it, but the personnel, the right personnel have been kept, and the right personnel have been brought in as well. And we just look so much better. And a massive shout to Will Mannion as well. I think there's been the keeper debate a lot this season between him and Ash. I think there's been the debate whether which one's better than the other, and also whether either of them are good enough to be the number one. And I think Will Mannion I thought he was brilliant yesterday. I feel quite confident with him in goal. Likewise, Ash, before he got injured, was performing really well. So that defensively, and we're in a great position. And it's great. It's just great to see, because I think that's really critical going into this time of the season, going into if we do get in that top six, going into the playoffs, like just feeling that a little bit more solid at the back against some of the tougher opposition is going to hopefully go a long way for us.
Yeah, I mean, when you mentioned earlier on in the shows about the mishaps at the back and how they've been sort of wiped out, I guess we were reminded that one of those that walking mishaps signed for Dagenham and Redbridge yesterday. Sort of like you can go through some of our defenders of the last few years, and 2 of them are in non-league, 2 of them propping up the league. Like when Nathan Jones spoke about personnel when it came to defensive errors last season, I think we all saw what he saw, what we all saw, and he's fixed that, and defensively we're brilliant. I mean. I struggled to choose a man of the match yesterday. I think it was always going to come from the defence, Tom. I think Macca was up there again. I think Will, because he dealt with some crosses as well, actually, yesterday, which he's very good at, I think. He made a good save as well. I gave it to Lloyd purely because I think he seemed to win all the headers that came into the penalty area, like in his area. Like I say, Macca picked up a few as well, but I checked the stats and he said he won 10 aerial challenges, which was so impressive. And then second in our aerial challenges list actually was Miles Leeburn, which showed the way we're trying to utilise him. And he did win a few against Hills and the other centre halves, but it was a difficult game for him to get into. But yeah, could you have chosen another man in the match there?
The only other one I would have thrown in would have been Conor. I think that spine at the back, so starting with Mannion, if you make him a little diamond, I think Mannion, Jones, Gillespie and Coventry there, all of them on the defensive side of the game were absolutely brilliant. As you say, particularly in that first half, obviously we were stood behind the goal, we were defending. The amount of clearances that Macca and Jones made from crosses and balls in was hugely important. I don't remember them, well, as we said a bit earlier, I don't remember them getting a shot on target. I don't even remember them winning a header in the box. It was those 2. But I also thought when we came under pressure at any point, Coventry was doing his thing and just snaffling around their players, winning the ball back. I don't think his distribution was as good as it has been in recent weeks. But yeah, I thought that middle of the park was good. I thought strangely, I think Small had a difficult game yesterday. And Edwards, there was a couple of times Edwards got caught out of position. So on the wider areas, I think maybe we struggled a little bit. But that bit in the middle was absolutely vital to us getting that point. So yeah, I probably would have said one of them 4. But again, it goes back to that defensive solidity we've had the whole time this season. It's very, very difficult, as you said on Thursday's show, for teams to score from open play against us. That's now, I don't know how many games, but we're looking at getting on for 3 months since we've conceded a goal from open play in the league. And it's not like we've conceded a huge amount from set pieces either, when you reference the clean sheet record there. And yeah, obviously goals have been slightly more at a premium. Obviously, I said on Thursday, Godden's scored for a while. Leeburn obviously got that great goal against Exeter. But has been sort of reduced to cameos. TC's got 1 or 2. Obviously, I think he scored it against Exeter as well, didn't he? So, they're scoring 1s and 2s, but we're not relentless in front of goal. But if we're as defensively solid as we are, we only need to get 1 or 2, and obviously the defence have weighed in as well. So, I think in a game like yesterday, the ability to defend, it far outweighs the ability to get forward and score. We had to be resolute, because if we'd have been able to score 2 or 3 but been loose on the back, we would have conceded 3 or 4, I think. So we didn't want to get into that sort of basketball game. We wanted to keep it tight. It was a physical game. The ref let a lot go. I don't think he was particularly biased towards either team, but he just seemed to make some odd calls and as I say, let a lot go. But yeah, I think those 4 in particular at that sort of base of our team are just doing a brilliant job at the moment. And yeah, it must be great for them. Obviously, Gillespie after Tuesday's game said he prefers clean sheets to scoring. And that defence must be loving life right now, because they feel unbeatable.
Yeah, I mean that the no open goals stat is a home stat rather than overall. But yeah, I mean we're not conceding many goals, and we haven't been all season, which is brilliant. That ref, yeah, as you said, was a bit of a weird one. There was some pushing and shoving all game that seemed to shirt pulling. Nathan Jones finally lost it right in added time when they had a long throw, and this guy TC was going to try and head it clear, and this guy basically picked him up and threw him at the corner flag, and the referee and the lino didn't spot it somehow. And that's when Nathan was finally tipped over the edge and had a go at the fourth. It was a ridiculous thing. Yeah, as Paul says, the ref yesterday let too much go. Some of the shirt pulling was absolutely ridiculous. And that was probably part of why I think we struggled to keep the ball a little bit up top. We made changes. So I mean, one of the big conversation points yesterday, Lewis, was the fact that we made changes quite early on. So obviously Leeburn came in to start ahead of Godden, and it's sort of when you see that, you think, right, I wonder if we're expecting a certain type of game here, and that's what we saw. And then it was Godden who stayed on the bench when Chukwuemeka came on. At the same time, Anderson came on. It was quite early in the second half for a sub, really, about 10 minutes in. I feel like it's quite early for us. They came on for Small and for Berry. James asking, what did you think on Matt being dropped? And then I guess he can also ask, and on Matt not coming on yesterday. I asked Nathan. We'll hear what he had to say. But what did you make of that, Lewis?
I was slightly surprised, not so much that he dropped him from the off, because I think we were expecting a certain type of game, and Miles brings that physicality, and we know that Chucks can't start a game, can't really, or if he did, you'd probably be taking him off at half time. I was slightly surprised to not see Godden come on when Chucks did, just because of the time. I feel like Godden, whilst he's maybe not as physical, I do feel he wins a lot in the air. I think he gets about well. And I think that could have been a bit of a test on their back line, and maybe bring on Chucks for Miles a little bit later on, just to cause that little bit of mayhem in the last sort of 10, 15 minutes. But I mean, obviously hear why Nathan did what he did, but that would have been the avenue I'd have gone down. I do think Matt Godden just gets in the right positions. I think he's a bit of a poacher. I mean, he's not scored for a little while, but he's been on a really good goal scoring run prior to that, which, I probably would have opted for him over Chucks. I don't feel Chucks brings the same impact as he did maybe this time last season if he was coming back and playing at the end. I don't feel we're seeing the same Chucks now, whether that's because he has to play a certain way because of his injuries or whatever. I don't know. Obviously, you're not going to keep a huge amount of sharpness if you're having long spells out multiple times a season. He's definitely got the ability, but there's maybe that chaos factor's gone a little bit. I always felt when he came on, he caused absolute mayhem, and you saw opposition defenders completely panic. And it was like whenever he came on, it was carnage. I haven't really seen that factor a huge amount since maybe in this back end of this season, maybe since the turn of the year. So yeah, I'd have probably opted for Matty Godden, but I can see why Nathan would have gone for Chucks just because of that physical side. One thing I didn't quite get is I would have gone for Gilbert over Anderson, because I just think he's just that little bit better with the ball. I think there were a few times that Anderson broke forward and his final pass wasn't there, and I think that could have maybe been our breakthrough. But we haven't seen a huge amount of Gilbert other than set pieces, so it's hard to make that call as well. But
I think he's not a physical player, Gilbert, and that, I'm not putting him down for anything. I just don't think that's his game, and that's why I think he was brought in. Just some breaking news actually in the League One playoff race. Huddersfield Town have sacked Michael Duff after yesterday's 1-0 defeat at Bristol Rovers. They've lost 4 of their last 5. They've only won 3 of their last 12 as well, Huddersfield. So they have dropped out of the playoff places in that race. So that's another spanner in the works, Tommy. I think we're going to see so many sort of elements that would turn this playoff race into a rollercoaster ride. Leyton Orient, as we said a few weeks ago, they look bang on for it. 5 defeats on the spin. There's going to be teams that drop away. What we have to do is make sure that we don't find ourselves in that situation. To be fair, I thought yesterday actually showed us, and I think this week has showed us, because as was mentioned at the top of the show, 7 points out of 9, all against tricky playoff chasing opponents. It could have gone very wrong, but it's shown me that we do have to stay in power. I think this week has shown us we do have to stay in power, whereas Huddersfield recent form has suggested they don't. Leyton Orient have fallen off a cliff. Bolton are just coming back into the race. But yeah, it's going to be a fascinating race, and that's another element of it. Michael Duff has been sacked by Huddersfield.
Yeah, I think we said it after Tuesday, didn't we? That could have been a game that last season or season before we would have lost. I've seen a few people in the comments saying, would we have lost yesterday last year? Possibly. Obviously, it's difficult to tell, but certainly the defensive solidity wouldn't have been as good. I think there's a strong foundation there for us. I think that's very clear. I think, again, I said it about Barnsley on Thursday's show. I felt they were in a little bit of a false position given how low. I say that how low they're still in the top 10, I think, but. Yeah, and now you're seeing it with teams that were in the top 6 that are now dropping out. I think teams like Leyton Orient maybe in a false position as well. we were having this discussion in a pub yesterday about whether, from an ownership perspective, the aim was ever to go up this season, or whether really it was about solidifying, getting that foundation, trimming the squad, and then looking to build on that next year. Obviously, I don't know the answer to that, but it feels like we're a little bit ahead of what's expected. So I think it's not a free hit by any means. I think we're now in a position where if we don't go up, we've got the potential to lose a little bit of this squad, and that puts us in trouble. So obviously we've got to go for it. But I just think the clean sheets, the defensive solidity, I don't really see many teams around the top 6 that have got all of that. And yes, there are teams that are maybe more free scoring than us, but as I say, I just don't think any other team's got that foundation and that stability. And yeah, I think that can carry you a long way in this division. And like you say, Huddersfield taking the gamble on Duff. Other teams have done it as well. So yeah, I think, as you say, that staying power is something we wouldn't have had in recent years, and I do think we have now. Consistency in the squad, consistency in selection, all the players, the unit that they seem to be. You see them at the end of games. You look at the reaction between them and the fans. Obviously, last weekend at Orient, all of that together is building. And I don't think we're like the Bowyer side of 19 in terms of free flowing football and the sort of Premier League quality we had in that midfield at the time. But I do think we're a bit like the PAL side of 2012. We're gritty. We're hard to beat. You think of those games against the 2 Sheffield sides with the Jacko free kicks when in that season. I think we're just a difficult side, and it's serving us well. And as you say, we've proven that over the last few weeks. And if we can do the same, we've obviously still got Huddersfield to play, we've got Wickham to play, we've got Wrexham to play. Big games coming up. I think if we can get points out of those as well, it's just going to put us in a big place. Because as you say, other teams are falling by the wayside now.
Right, excellent stuff. We've still got loads of your messages to come to. I still want to try and touch on celebrities we've seen at away games. A couple of people have made some suggestions after I bumped into Paul Chuckle yesterday on the way home, and Lee Ryan from Blue was spotted in the away end. Apparently, it was incognito. Dave Evans, who I mentioned earlier, was telling me he got really excited because he saw him and he went up to him and went, "You're," and then couldn't remember his name, so it was a bit awkward for him. But he recognised him at least. But we all know Lee Ryan is a Charlton fan. So good to see that he was there yesterday. Let us know if you've ever seen a non-footballing celebrity on the way to an away game or on the way back, or even at an away game like we saw yesterday. We're going to hear from Conor Coventry later. Let's hear from the Addicts boss, Nathan Jones, now. This is what he had to say after yesterday's goalless draw up at Stockport County. Goalless draw here at Stockport feels like a good point.
It is a good point against you. You're right. We want to win every game. We try to win every game. We're prepared to win every game. But today was very difficult. I mean, regardless of the sun, the conditions were really difficult. It was windy. Pitch is a little bit hard and bobbly, so it wasn't conducive for a real fluent game. Look, they bypassed our press, went into front, and made it difficult to get any kind of fluency in the game. And it was 2 sides that really want to achieve something going at it, and it was a full-blooded affair. League One game, lacked a bit of quality, but had bags of endeavour.
You have to stand up to a bit of pressure at the start of the second half, but it's another clean sheet again. 16
well,
now.
Look, we did. I thought we were decent first half. We dealt with so much, and then we had probably the best opportunities in stuff first half, and then second half they probably edged. So it's a fair point, no problem. And we're the away fans, so we're the away team, so the onus is on them to win that game. But it was important, one, we didn't get beat, two, that we stood up to that, and we showed different elements of our qualities. We've been very fluent in recent weeks. We've been electric, we've been aggressive in terms of how we played. Today we had to show a real battling quality, and I thought we did that against a very tough side.
7 points from 9 from this week is an excellent return.
Oh, it's outstanding. I mean, look, I would have taken that all day long. Like, in 3 promotion rivals, 2 away games, having to do that bit of travelling, and absolutely, that's a wonderful return. I'm proud of my team, proud of my club. Fans magnificent again, travelling up here. And look, it is. If someone said to you, against Leyton Orient away, we've got excellent home record, Stockport, excellent home record, we can take 4 points from that, then win our home game against Barnsley, very good, tricky Barnsley side. Absolutely, wonderful week.
A big save from Will Mannion at the start of the second half as well.
Yeah, that's what we pay goalkeepers for, so we bring him in for. So, everything was a bit sporadic, it's everything. It was direct, put it in, have a scramble, and it may fall. So things sometimes dropped for them, sometimes didn't drop for us in terms of stuff. But what you have to do is react and do the best you can. there was very little pattern to the game, so we couldn't press. We couldn't, because literally just go keep it the front man and then see what happens. So look, it was difficult for us to implement any kind of press in terms of on it and implement our thing. So we had to show another side of our game, and that's what it was today. And that's League One football. You know, League One football, you can play a really fluent football inside one week, and then you can play a direct side the next one, and that's what we have to do.
Made changes quite early in the second half today. Chuck's coming on instead of Godden. Was this a game sort of more suited to Chuck's today?
We've just felt with the wind, against the wind, you know, we'd love to have been really fluent on a very difficult, tricky pitch with the wind blowing, you know, in our faces. But we needed a platform, need to get up the pitch. We needed a bit because Godden's cleverness. We probably needed the physicality. Crawley as well, a bit more physical than Beza would get us up the pitch. And I thought a fair result. So look, could we have done this? Could we have done that? Fine, but as you said, in the context of everything, 7 points is a wonderful week.
Lloyd Jones went down hurt at one point. He was able to continue. Is there anything to be concerned about?
He's
there?
just stiff, you know. Look, it's 3 games with the schedule is demanding and so on. But he's had 3 games in a week. He's had big things. You know, we've gone 98 minutes today, 98 minutes, and well, more than that, because obviously in the first half as well and stuff. So look, it's just fatigue, and everyone was going through it. Every club at the minute pretty much is in the same boat. What we've managed to do is, you know, good recovery strategies. We have that, and we've got to go again.
The good point today probably comes a very good point if you can take all 3 against Crawley on Tuesday.
Well, look, you never know how good this point is going to be until in hindsight. But look, if someone had said to me, look, this is the beginning last Saturday morning, you're going to take 7 points this week, I'd have gone absolutely no problem whatsoever. In the manner that we've taken them, would we have swapped anything around? Don't know. But today was important to get someone out of the game. Important that we backed up 2 excellent performances, because we'd be good in both those games. And today was just a battle inside. So, look, I'm really pleased. I'm really proud of the group and everyone for the work we've done.
Just looking ahead to Crawley, what sort of challenge are you expecting from them?
Another difficult one, tricky one. You know, they're playing for something as well. So no easy games at this level. But look, we just have to be us.
The game against them at home is obviously ingrained in a lot of people's minds. It feels a very long time ago now, but it'd be nice to sort of underline that one and try and get revenge.
It's not about revenge in terms of anything. We were the worst version of ourselves that night, and we still should have won the game. We still should have won the game. Like, when I look back at it, the euphoria and the furore around it was justified, unjustified, we don't know. But we had better opportunities. We had things, and it took 2 really big strikes from outside the box, which can happen at times to cost us. But those weren't our levels. We've been good since, and that's a credit to everyone at the football club, because a lot of people are sceptical, a lot of people are critical and stuff like that. Well, look, we're in a significantly better place, but it's not about revenge. It's about us achieving what we want to do.
You'll be checking the weather forecast before you go there on Tuesday?
Well, I don't think we'll be in the same position as we were around about Christmas time. And I say, look, we were disappointed who's off at the thing, but look, this gives us an opportunity now to take points with our game in hand, because not everyone is playing. So that's a big thing.
PSF Steel Limited is a trade supplier of steel fabrication and erection services to the new build, construction and refurbishment market in southern England. With their unrivaled depth of experience, they excel at providing their customers with high quality and cost-effective steel fabrication solutions. Their customers include national and regional house builders, such as Barratt Homes, Bellway Homes, the Vistry Group and Taylor Wimpey. They pride themselves on their service-based ethos and commitment to customer service excellence, which includes full technical backup and on-site services and support. If you would like more information, go to www.psfsteel.co.uk. That's www.psfsteel.co.uk.
Hello fellow addicts, I'm so excited to tell you all about our micropub, the River Ale House. The River Ale House is based in East Greenwich. It has 6 Pub of the Year awards, an ever-changing selection of amazing beer. It's owned by Charlton fans, walkable to the ground in just 20 minutes with buses that go direct to the Valley too. If your matchday routine includes a drink with your friends, you must join your fellow addicts in the River. See you soon.
Right, welcome back to Charlton Live on your Sunday morning. Just before the break there, we heard from the Addicts boss, Nathan Jones, after yesterday's goalless draw up at Stockport County. Obviously looked ahead a little bit to the Crawley game there as well, which we will do later on in the show. One thing that Lewis pointed out in our little chat while we were listening to that is that in Huddersfield's full statement, they've actually announced John Worthington, their academy manager and club legend, will take charge of the first team for the rest of the season. So they've already effectively made an appointment for the run-in, someone who's been managing their academy. It's a lot of pressure on him, but yeah, so that's how Huddersfield are setting up for the rest of the season. That will be interesting to see how that plays out. Now, Ed asked earlier on in the show, how are we looking against the points predicted spreadsheet you did the other day? Can't remember what was a must, might, and lose. So I've had a quick look. What I'll try and do is share it on the screen now, actually, just to see if we're on track. And bear in mind, this is more of a not a prediction as such. This is more of a budget. I'd call it a budget to sort of use my day job terms, but to look at what we could afford to do. So I mean, interestingly, we said we had Exeter as a must win, but the Orient we had as a game that was tough. So, therefore, as long as we won the games we put as must win, we could afford to lose this game. So actually, we're 3 points ahead after 2 games. We put Barnsley as a might win, budgeted for 1 point. We've won that as well, so that's a further 3 points ahead. And Stockport we put as tough as well, so we budgeted for 0, assuming we could pick up points in the other games, and we've taken another point from that. So we're 3, 4, 5, 6 points ahead of our target, I think, already. So I mean, it shows we're in great stead for the playoffs. And now the games that come up ahead of us, all of them are winnable. Every single game on this list is winnable. But the way we've sort of set out a target, it means that we don't necessarily have to win all of them. So yeah, we're in pretty good shape for that as far as I see it. I've ended up over there, Tom. What are you getting carried away with this run in, Tommy? Are you looking at thinking, right, we're ahead of where we need to be at this moment in time?
I mean, yes to that second question. We're ahead of where I thought we'd be after these games. Am I getting carried away? No. Fully capable of losing on Tuesday against Crawley, fully capable of losing against Wigan next weekend. It seems unlikely. Again, I spoke about this on Thursday. If we were another League One podcast, I don't know, someone from the middle of the table, Barnsley or a Reading or something, and we were talking about this as a relative neutral, then we'd be talking about Charlton as being probably one of the toughest teams in the league at the moment in terms of how to beat them. I think because you're a Charlton fan, you've obviously got that slight nervousness about that. But no, we had this big discussion on Tuesday, didn't we, about second? Second is still eminently possible. Do I think it will happen? I'm not sure, but it's more than possible that we get there as well. So for the team, I'm just going to repeat what I said Thursday and what Nathan Jones says every week. It's just about a game at a time. We just go to Crawley. Crawley is a game that we should win. It doesn't mean we will. But if we do, that's another 3 points. And then we look ahead to next Saturday, Wigan. Wigan is a game we should win. Doesn't mean we will. But again, if you get the points there. And because of all the other results happening at the same time as well, and because it's so tight, so much is going to change. So you just don't know where you're going to stand game after game. So I'm trying not to get carried away is the answer. And as I said to you on Thursday, if we make playoffs, I'll be absolutely delighted wherever, even if it's finishing 6th. But looking at it from a neutral perspective, we're probably the informed team in the division and the tough team to beat at the moment. And going into games with that sort of confidence, if the players can carry that into games, then that's got to be a good thing. So, again, as I said to you a little bit earlier, it's just exciting to be a part of it at this stage in the season, having had 2 or 3 years of such disappointment and, limbering through podcasts at this stage because the season's already done, or maybe we're looking over our shoulder. So, it's fun to be a part of.
Yeah, but Spamfish is putting our feet firmly on the ground. Says a reminder, we're closer on points to 9th than we are to 2nd. But Joseph says we should be aiming for 2nd, but securing a playoff spot is an absolute must. Honestly, I've never expected this at the start of the season, buzzing with how things have turned out. Well, I'm never expecting this on the 3rd of December or whenever it was we played Crawley. I was sort of looking back at some of the reports from that game this morning, because I've got some stuff to look ahead to, as we heard there from Nathan. And yeah, very, very different world we're in now. Let's have a look at a couple of emails that have come in quickly. Ray says the defence was superb on Saturday, but a shout out must go to Kane Ramsey, who made at least 3 goal-saving tackles in our penalty area in the first half. What a player. That's from Ray from Daventry. The McSquared said a very valuable away point against a playoff rival and yet another clean sheet, a result we would have all settled for beforehand. Only Bolton made up ground on us as a result of the draw, and the other 3 of the 4 chases, including Orient, who appear to have imploded, even lost ground. Therefore, a very satisfying day all around. Tuesday's game against Crawley is more crucial as it's our game in hand. Let's hope that goes according to plan. Yeah, Liam's asking, do we still have to play Wrexham away? Yes, we do. That's our last away game of the season. He says, well, of the regular season. He says if we do and beat them, we might have a chance at second, as I think they'll finish above Wycombe. I've been saying all the time, let's not get carried away. But the more we talk about it, I think like if we can continue the run we've been on, then there's a chance there. But playoffs first, and then let's worry about second after that. Liam says TC has the potential, but I don't see him starting week in, week out for a championship side. Not yet, anyway. I do love him and hope that we keep him. Yeah, there's been a bit of a chat about TC and Small, really. I mean, on yesterday's game, I think it was harder for them both to get into it because there wasn't a lot of width in the game. There wasn't a lot of fluidity in the game. And part of that, I guess, was because we couldn't get them into it, but also they couldn't get themselves into the game, Lewis. And that sort of was why we didn't perhaps have as much threat as we were hoping for.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, TC's not the most physical of players anyway, and they're obviously a very, very physical back line for Stockport. And then it felt like they'd done their homework on Thierry a little bit. Felt like they doubled up on him a lot, defended him well, sort of stopped him from doing what he's good at, like getting that heavy touch ahead of him and beating them for pace. It felt like they managed to sound him out pretty early on, which is probably why he was taken off when he was. But he's been excellent in that position, hasn't he? Since he's been put there, he's been a revelation there. And a lot of defences have really struggled to cope with him. And I'd say yesterday is probably the first time in a very long time that we've seen Thierry sort of marked out of a game. So yeah, it was one of those things, really. I think, TC's been excellent. I still think he's got a lot to learn, but he's definitely improved leaps and bounds this year. He came back in the summer, didn't he? Looked like he'd bulked out a bit, looked a lot more physical, looked like a bit of a different animal. We've seen him in a different position a lot this season, playing up top. I don't really know where he plays now. It feels like he just drifts behind the striker, whether he obviously he hugs the wide, the free roll just to go and cause a bit of mayhem. But I think I've been really impressed with him on the whole. I think he could pull the trigger a little bit earlier sometimes, but I think that's me being really critical. And Thierry's been great because there were points this season where we couldn't see him getting in the team over Edwards. Like defensively, Edwards was fantastic. I mean, still is doing really well, but we were struggling to see where Thierry got in that back line or in that team. And the injury to Ramsey kind of gave him that opportunity to get back in, but on his weaker side, and it's meant a bit of a shift around in that back line. But it's worked for everybody. I think Kane's been as good in that position more centrally as Thierry's been playing on his weaker side. So yeah, look, they've put in a lot more decent performances than they've been shushed out of games like they were yesterday. So I think we just got to take that one. Hopefully we see a little bit more from them on Tuesday night.
London Pommy said that small pitch didn't help TC, no space for him whatsoever. Liam says he thinks that Thierry's been shocking for these last few games. His first touch and decision making has been dreadful. I think I've always said, in fact, Paul's just said it exactly here in the chat. Wingers being hit and miss isn't a new thing in football. I've always felt that the winger, or maybe the trying to be the creative midfielder, but particularly the winger, you're trying to do one of the more difficult. You're trying to be creative, working not a great deal of space because you've only got sort of one side of the pitch to operate in, but also you're trying to do stuff that can conjure up a chance out of nothing. So you have to be creative. You have to have the beating of your man, and it's when you're trying the more difficult stuff that you're more likely for it not to come off. If we just wanted our players playing a 5-yard pass to each other back and forward, that would be easy and it would come off every time. But sometimes you need a winger to do a little bit more, and therefore they're more susceptible to it going wrong. And that can happen with the likes of TC and Small, but also when it comes off and they get in behind, all of a sudden we got a good chance to put in a cross. That's just the position that they play. Right, we're going to hear from Conor Coventry very shortly. Let's speak about celebrity spots on away games. So Lee Ryan from Blue was there yesterday. He was probably delighted that the away end was all standing up because they all rised. Is that? I hope that's a Blue song. Otherwise, I've made a right tip myself there. But I also bumped into Paul Chuckle on the way home from Chuckle Vision. For those of you old enough to remember the Chuckle brothers, I didn't have the bottle to go up to him and say hi, Paul, because I couldn't remember which one was Paul and which one was Barry, and one of them sadly passed away a few years, so it would have been quite devastating. It turned out it was Paul I saw. It would have been quite devastating if I guessed his name was Barry and just reminded him of his poor brother who died a few years ago. So I didn't do that. But I wanted to know who you have spotted on away days. Non-footballing famous people. Spamfish said, I've seen Carl Howman, who's a Charlton fan he's from Brushstrokes, isn't he? He's on Twitter now. He's quite vocal on Twitter, I've noticed. Jeremy Beard says he's seen Michael Grade, a well-known Charlton fan. Jake said he was convinced he saw Jimmy Carr at Charing Cross after the game yesterday, or the best impersonator. Did you see Jimmy Carr knocking about on the trains sometime? Dean's had a real good one here. He spotted me on an away game once. Set the bar low there, Dean. David said he bumped into Glenn Tilbrook out of Squeeze outside Anfield. He had his name on the back of his shirt, which helped. Yeah, he's a big Charlton fan, isn't he, Glenn? From Squeeze, I remember seeing him in the Swan after we beat Doncaster in the playoffs, actually, funny enough. Tony said, I saw Lee Ryan's bandmate Anthony Costa chain smoking outside a service station on an away day years ago. Well, there you go. We're half of the way through blue now on away day, so let's try and keep that up. James said he saw Timmy Mallet on his bike in Oxford. Well, that's good to see that we've seen some good celebrities. Have you seen any Tom or Lewis? You want to chuck in there?
I've got nothing. I mean, I saw Lee Ryan yesterday, so if I can have that one, it will count. None of those other names. Maybe I would have recognised Jimmy Carr. None of the others. Maybe I've met all of them as well, but I wouldn't know if I have or not because I don't know who any of them are.
Yeah. Lewis?
Nothing on an away day, but do you remember when Lewis Capaldi randomly rocked up at the Valley for that Aberdeen friendly? That's the only celeb I think I've ever seen at a Charlton game, apart from the obvious, like Jim Davidson.
We had Ed Sheeran was for that Ipswich 4-4, wasn't he? Yeah, Luke said I should have gone up to him. Hello, Mr. Chuckle. Can I tell you all about my podcast? I should have got him on.
We could have got him on. That would have been insane.
Yeah.
Him and Lee Ryan, both of them. Or get the whole of Blue on.
Yeah. They're doing a reunion tour at the moment, Blue, aren't they? So they're free advertising for them. They'd love it. Right. Let's hear from Conor Coventry, who is, as far as I'm aware, not in blue. He was wearing yellow yesterday, thankfully. As another good performance for him. I spoke to him after the goalless draw up at Stockport. It feels like a good point on the road today.
Yeah, it's a real tough game. I think it's a tough place to come. Obviously, a team that have had a lot of promotions the last few years, and they're right up there at the table. And I think, it's a real tough game. So you have to come away from that, a long trip. And so, the point's a good point, especially off the back of 2 wins against, other teams around the playoffs. I think if you say at the start of the week 7 points, I think that's a real good return.
Yeah, and it seemed like a real battle out there today, a real physical contest.
Yeah, it was definitely a battle. I think it maybe wasn't the best game of football at times, but it was a real tough battle. Everyone had to dig in, and it's great, you see your teammates, everyone's fighting, everyone's giving everything. That's the type of dressing room you want to be a part of.
Yeah, especially in that second half, and they exerted a little bit of pressure at the start of it, but Charlton came through that to get another clean sheet.
Yeah, no, I think that was probably their strongest spell at the start of the second half. I think we're probably coming stronger towards the end of the game. They had a little one again towards right at the end, but no, that was massive that we didn't concede there. Will made a great save. And we managed to see it out, and that's what we need to do, because there's going to be little stages in games where things are up against you, especially away from home, and that's where you get your points, really. Yeah,
16 clean sheets. Now I know the defenders and the goalkeepers get all the praise, but obviously as a midfield and even the forward line would all play a part in that.
Yeah, I'd like a bit of praise for that as well. I think I'll be whole. But no, it's right from the front. I think you see the boys at the front, the work rate they put in is massive, and we're all appreciative behind it. And I think that's the real sort of foundation of our team, is the work that everyone puts in. Is everyone's giving their all, and I think you can see that anyone comes off the bench, everyone gives their all, and that's the foundation of where we are in the league, really.
Yeah, and you mentioned, that the run of results that's come into it, 7 points from 9 against promotion rivals, and it shows that it's important to show where Charlton sort of are at this moment in time now.
Yeah, 100%. I think we're the type of team that goes into every game trying to win, and we have obviously got a few wins recently, and today we fell a bit short, but you have to take the good point, and I feel like we're in a real good place. I feel like we've got a bit of momentum and confidence about us, and I don't think teams will be looking forward to playing us at the moment.
How are you sort of assessing the table? Obviously, there was a chance to climb above Stockport today, but there's still a game in hand. Are you looking even higher? Some fans have been talking about trying to chase down second place.
To be honest, we are looking higher, but at the same time, it's game by game, isn't it? We've got a tough away game on Tuesday now. That's the main thing. We're not really looking too much at the table. We want to finish as high as we can. We've got 11 games. We want to try and win all 11. Obviously, that's a tough thing to do, but that's our aspiration. So, just taking it game by game, but we're believing that something can happen.
It's a busy run of fixtures. Obviously, Nathan doesn't make many changes as well. I mean, how is that on the squad that he keeps the side sort of pretty close, playing the same amount of games and stuff?
No, I think the squad is our strength. I think the manager said it after the game the other night. He said we can't win anything with 11 players, and it's going to take the whole squad to achieve anything. And I think you really see that anytime someone comes off the bench, the work rate they give and the quality and the moments that lads off the bench have given us is great. And I feel like it's a real squad effort in there. No one's sulking because they're not playing, or everyone's on the same page. Everyone wants us to win, and that's another real strength of our group.
said to Nathan, I mean, it's a good point today. It becomes a very good point if you back it up with a win on Tuesday, I guess.
100%. I think that's every game, really, isn't it? You know, you get a big win, you need to go again, and yeah, like you said, if we go and lose or whatever on Tuesday, then maybe it's not such a good point. But it's given us a foundation to go into another game and try and push for another win and see what we can do.
Sort of test you expecting from Crawley, obviously a different end of the table to some of the sides you played recently, but that doesn't mean anything, as we found out at home.
Yeah, no, we know they're a good side. Obviously, I feel like we was in a very different place, but in fairness to them, they were much better than us on the night, and they beat us, and we had to sort of regroup from that. That one hurt us a lot. So we know what they can do. We know that they can beat us if we're not at it. We're fully aware of that. So they've got a good result today, and yeah, they're a good side. They've got some good players, so we won't be underestimating them at all.
There you go. That's Conor Coventry speaking to myself after yesterday's goalless draw up at Stockport County. Paul says, my sister dated Lee Ryan for a hot minute when they're at the BLA Performing Arts School together. James says, Lee Ryan's sister cut my ex-wife's hair in Blackheath. Andrew says, who is Lee Ryan? It's from Blue. If anyone's got a family member who's dated Paul Chuckle, let us know. But Conor was looking ahead to the game at Crawley. Right at the end of that little clip there, Tom. I mean, it's a massive game for us because you have to win this game. I think if we're serious about making a dart for the top two, we 100% have to win this game. If we want to really consolidate our place in the top four, then I think we have to win this game for the playoff push. Then winning this game will certainly be useful. We're a little bit ahead of schedule at the moment, but it's a big game, and I think if we had to define a low point of this season, I think a lot of people will say the Crawley game at home. So it'd be nice to underline that one. I think it's fair to say we've moved on from it because we've obviously done a lot better since then. But it'd be nice to beat them and just draw a line under that one completely.
Yeah, as Conor said, we're not necessarily out for revenge, but at the same time, it'll feel very sweet if we get the win, given that performance at home. So yeah, I completely agree. It's one of those where you'd rather have got the points on the board at this stage and have had the game go ahead on New Year's Day, albeit obviously we don't know if we would have won it, but especially as I can't now go on Tuesday night. But yeah, we've got to just go and do what we do. I don't want to sound like Nathan Jones, but if we play well and if we perform as we should, to specifically not sound like Nathan Jones, then we should win this game. We are a better side than them. There's absolutely no question about that. But we still have to be at our very best. And we've played a lot of football recently. Yesterday's game will have taken a lot out of us physically. So they'll need to rest up and then just go again. But I know we still don't know about the Peterborough game yet, but if there's any way to get an extended break after Wigan, you'd probably look to it. I know Nathan Jones probably wouldn't. He'd just love to keep playing games as much as we can, and maybe the players the same. But I think, look, next two games are huge, and if we could get, this time next week, be sitting there with an extra 6 points, that would be absolutely massive. Again, going back to your graph and those targets, we'd be even further ahead of where we expected to be by this stage. Gives us even a little bit more leeway. So yeah, it's not going to be an easy game by any stretch, but it's one that we should absolutely be targeting 3 points in the same way as you were when you did that sort of predictor thing earlier in the season.
Yeah, London Pommy says it's almost a derby game with all their Charlton connections. Obviously got Kamara, they've got Louis Watson on loan, they've got Rob Elliott as their manager, as we all know. They've got more than that off the top of my head, I can't remember. But James says Creepy Crawley could be a banana skin. Ed's asking if we're going to go with the same team, Lewis. Well, that will be an interesting one, actually. I guess the Lee Byrne versus Godden debate straight off the bat there at the top of the pitch.
I imagine Godden will come back in, I think. Again, I think Miles was all right yesterday. It kind of marked out the game a little bit. It was, again, very physical. Crawley, different game, isn't it? I would be surprised if Godden didn't come back in. That would be my personal choice anyway. But apart from that, I think it will be very much the same. I don't think Nathan will want to change it too much. The midfield kind of picks itself. You sometimes think, will Berry rotate with Gilbert or Karoy? Maybe. But apart from that, I think everyone else is pretty much a certain to start. I think it's literally just between whether Godden comes in for Miles and if we see Berry dropped out for one of those other midfielders in Karoy or Gilbert. Apart from that, I think it would pretty much be the same. But it's such a big game, isn't it? Like I think calling it off back in January. Whether that'll be a blessing in disguise now playing them when we play them, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, we just got to go there and keep performing as we have been and put in a decent performance defensively and then try and go at them. I mean, they're obviously struggling, but you can never write off a struggling side because they were obviously the low point that sticks out in our season was Crawley. So they are, as James said, that they are that banana skin. So we want to be careful that they don't do that again. I think going there and getting a decent result will like truly bury that hatchet of that December disappointment we had against them. But it's a huge game. We come out of it with a win and we go up to 4th. And that is huge. As you said earlier on, it was like doing it in stages. Like, let's get into the top 6. Now we're there. Let's look at getting into those 2 positions where we get the home leg last. And then it's like, well, if we get in there, do we then start looking at second? It feels like we're just chipping away at those targets. So if we can break into the top 4 Tuesday night, then I think that's a huge step for us.
Lovely stuff. Ed said he'd like to see Gilbert given a go. Paul says he's concerned about a Louis Watson masterclass incoming. As all hell let loose as well. They've also got Charlie Barker as their centre half, who I forgot to mention. He's got an absolute screamer the other day. I think he might have won goal of the month or something, or certainly for Crawley. It was a very good goal that he scored a few weeks ago. Not the sort of strike we'd expect from him. Right, we've run out of time on this week's Charlton Live. Just final on the celebrity spotting. Paul says the aunt of a school friend of mine dated Brian Ferry of Roxy Music at Newcastle Uni. Does that count? I suggest that's a bit of a stretch there. But as Spamfish says, who needs Ryan Reynolds when you have Lee Ryan's sisters' hairdressers? Charlton are officially the Hollywood club of League One once again. Right, this has been Charlton Live. Massive thanks for everyone who's joined us in the chat this morning. I hope you've enjoyed the show. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you never miss another episode of Charlton Live. Also, check out our merch store, charltonlive.etsy.com, to buy your Charlton Live mug. Massive thanks for everyone who's joined us. Tom and Lewis, it's been an absolute pleasure as always.
Cheers, everyone.
Lovely stuff. I'm Louis Mendes. This has been Charlton Live, sponsored by PSF Steel Limited. We'll be back on Thursday when we'll look back at the game against Crawley and ahead to next Saturday's home game against Wigan. We shall see you then.